The auction hall stretched across 3 cubic kilometers of sterile white space, suspended in the void between dimensions. Melissa stood at the observation deck, her knuckles white against the railing as she watched the holographic displays cycle through lot numbers. Each number represented 1,000 lives. Each flicker of light, a civilization's death warrant. Lot 47,293 through 47,300. The auctioneer's voice reverberated through the translation matrix, a sound that bypassed ears and embedded itself directly into neural tissue. 7.3 billion specimens. Homo sapiens, Class C intelligence, minimal technological development, suitable for labor, entertainment, or biomass conversion. Jack appeared beside her, his reflection ghostly in the transparent aluminum. The Zerathi Consortium is bidding, he said quietly. His augmented eye flickered with data streams invisible to baseline humans. They're planning to strip mine consciousness, use human neural patterns as processing substrate for their computational arrays. Melissa's jaw tightened. She'd seen what the Zerathi did to the Kelvorians. 17 billion minds, compressed into quantum storage, experiencing subjective eternities of isolated madness while their brain patterns solved logistics equations for a galactic shipping empire. The Hergath Collective just entered. Jack continued. They want the children for their war crashes, the adults for protein synthesis. The auction proceeded with mechanical efficiency. The gathered species crystalline intellects from the outer veil, hive minds from the scorched reaches, post-biological entities that existed as pure mathematics examined humanity like farmers appraising livestock. Earth had been discovered 3 cycles ago, its primitive inhabitants unaware that their radio signals had painted a target across their sky. The Galactic Concordat's laws were clear. Pre-FTL species had no rights. They were resources, to be catalogued and distributed according to market principles that had governed commerce for 1,000,000 years. Current bid stands at 400,000 standard credits, the auctioneer announced. The Zerathi Consortium leads. Melissa activated her quantum communicator. Admiral Chen, status. The response came instantly, though Chen was 700 light-years away aboard the UTN Prometheus. All assets are liquid. We're ready on your signal. Humanity had been part of the galactic community for exactly 4 months. They'd been discovered not by their radio transmissions, but by their absence, by the strange gap in slave market catalogs where Earth should have been. By the time the slavers arrived, they found Sol System transformed into a fortress. The war had lasted 3 weeks. Humanity lost 4 billion people, but they won. The spoils of victory had been considerable. 37 slave vessels, their cargo holds filled with species humans had never imagined. Their data banks contained something more valuable, the complete economic architecture of galactic civilization. Jack pulled up a holographic display. The Tribunal of Scales is preparing to bid. They'll use humans as currency. Their economy is built on suffering indices. How much do we have? Melissa asked. Enough, Jack replied. The question is whether we should. Melissa turned to face him fully. In the harsh light of the auction hall, she could see the enhancement scars along his temples, the neural lace that let him process information at post-human speeds. They'd all changed in the past 4 months. Evolution forced into fast-forward by necessity. They're going to be sold either way, she said. The Concordat doesn't recognize rescue missions, only legitimate purchases. We'll bankrupt ourselves, Jack warned. Every credit we captured, every resource we seized, it'll all be gone. We'll have nothing left for defense, for expansion. For what? Melissa interrupted. For becoming like them. She gestured at the assembled alien representatives. We didn't claw our way off Earth to become slavers ourselves. The bidding continued to escalate. 500,000, 600,000. The numbers climbed as various factions calculated the value of human suffering against their quarterly projections. Melissa opened a channel to the bidding interface. Her credentials appeared in the auction network. Melissa Chen, Representative United Terran Nations, a new entry in databases that stretched back millennia. 700,000 credits, she said into the void. The auction hall fell silent. Attention shifted, vast and alien, toward the observation deck where 2 humans stood. The Terrans are bidding. The auctioneer's confusion was palpable even through translation. But, these are your own species. Yes, Melissa confirmed. 700,000 whispers erupted across the quantum channels. Humans bidding on humans. The concept was technically legal, but philosophically bizarre. Why would a species purchase its own members? They weren't even the same population. These were humans from an alternate quantum branch, a parallel Earth discovered by slavers before it could defend itself. 750,000. The Zerathi counterbid 1 million. Melissa responded immediately. Jack's hand found hers. The treasury is signaling. We're approaching critical reserves. I know 1.2 million. The Hagath collective entered. Their hunger for young flesh overwhelming their economic prudence. 1.5 million, Melissa said calmly. The bidding became frantic. Species that had dominated galactic commerce for eons found themselves in competition with newcomers who refused to follow established patterns. Humans weren't supposed to value other humans this highly. The math didn't work. The profit margins were negative. At 3 million credits, the Zerathi withdrew. At 4 million, the Haragath collective recalculated and retreated. One by one, the various factions fell away, unable to justify the expense against more logical investments. Current bid stands at 4.7 million standard credits, the auctioneer announced, its tone somewhere between awe and confusion. Going once. Silence filled the void. 4.7 million credits for 7 billion primitives who couldn't even manipulate quantum states. It was economic insanity. Gone twice. Melissa felt Jack's hand trembling in hers. They'd mortgaged humanity's future on this gamble. If they were wrong, if these parallel humans weren't worth saving, if the cost crippled Earth's ability to defend itself against the next threat. Double quotes sold. To the United Terran Nations, the holographic displays flickered and died. Ownership transferred through quantum entanglement, instantaneous across the light. 7 billion humans, freed from auction blocks they'd never seen. Suddenly under the protection of cousins they'd never met. We're broke, Jack said flatly. Completely liquidated. No reserves for defense. No funds for expansion. If the Concordat decides to attack, we're defenseless. Melissa smiled, though tears tracked down her face. Then we'd better make sure those 7 billion are grateful enough to help us build something worth defending. The auction hall began to empty as various species departed to pursue more profitable ventures, but Melissa noticed something in the data streams Jack was monitoring. Queries, thousands of them, species across the galaxy, searching their databases for information on humans, on the species that had paid everything to buy slaves they already considered family. We just became the most interesting commodity in the galaxy, Jack murmured, not as slaves, as something else. As proof that alternatives existed. That perhaps the logic of markets and the calculus of exploitation weren't the only possible foundations for civilization. Melissa turned from the observation deck, ready to begin the impossible task of integrating 7 billion refugees into a civilization that had barely survived its own first contact. Behind her, the auction continued. Other species, other lots, other tragedies proceeding according to ancient formulas. But somewhere in the quantum foam, a new pattern was emerging. A strange attractor in the mathematics of galactic civilization, a species that chose bankruptcy over complicity. Humanity had bought itself in every possible timeline. Now it just had to survive the cost.